What good could come from a relationship between a 15-year-old adolescent girl and a 28-year-old man? Love? Marriage? Children? Perhaps a cold-blooded murder? For one Caroline Crouch, the answer would be all of the above. Caroline Louise Crouch was born in Athens, Greece, on July 12, 2001, to retired UK engineer David Crouch and Filipino mother Susan Della Cuesta. The family moved to the village of Alonissos, a Greek island in the Aegean Sea, when Caroline was 8 years old. Alonissos is located on the southernmost part of the island and is locally referred to as Kora, or the Old Village. With hot, dry summers and mild winters, agriculture is widespread, with its main products being almonds, grapes, figs, and olives. It was on this island where Caroline would grow up and meet Charalambos Babis Anagnostopoulos at the ripe age of 15 years old, while he was on vacation at his family's holiday home. Babis visited often, as he previously lived on the island from the ages of 10 to 14, when his mother Georgia worked there as a teacher. Babis was 13 years Caroline's senior, but the age disparity did not stop the helicopter pilot from flying over her school in an effort to impress her and win her over. Caroline lived on the island permanently and was a student there. I worked as a helicopter pilot with a private company and would visit the island regularly with my helicopter and any other way to see her, explained Babis. Their sexual relationship began when she was 16 years old and he was 29. In later accounts, he describes their meeting and relationship beginnings. She may have been younger, but she was very mature and she was maturing fast. My life changed in 2017 when I saw Caroline. We met at Easter. It was platonic. I was disappointed when I found out her age. I went back on the island in the summer. She is the rarest person I have ever met in my life. A brilliant woman. At 16, you could speak to her about anything. Her personality was lovely. She filled anyone with love. We spent the whole summer together. After that, it was obvious to both of us that we were in a relationship. During the 4 years we were together, Caroline never called me by my name. She only called me darling or little one. No one can tell me otherwise. It was the rarest and most beautiful thing ever. Though as lovely as his words sound, it did not exactly correspond with the ill-fated doom he would subject her to. In September 2018, the couple officially decided that cohabiting and marriage were the next steps for them. Babis stated, "My absolute priority in everything was her happiness. We were looking for a beautiful home that framed the dream we were living. Caroline loved this particular house. We did not want to live in the city." They moved in together, just a few months before their union in holy matrimony in Glyka Nera, a suburb of Athens, and where Caroline would drastically take her last breath. The couple exchanged vows on July 15, 2019, just days after her 18th birthday, at a beautiful ceremony in Portugal, though they did not inform her parents or any family members about their wedding plans. In the summer of 2018, we had the crazy idea to get married. She had a dream of getting married on a beach. But in Greece, this is not legally possible. You need a church. So, we went to Portugal. We both knew it was early. We were madly in love. She organized everything perfectly. Even the flowers, the cars, the hotels, everything. We planned to make the summer trip to Portugal, get married, and announce it when we get back. Their honeymoon phase came to an abrupt end when Caroline announced she was pregnant just weeks after their secret getaway wedding in Portugal. Though it was exciting news for Caroline, Babis expressed more reluctant emotions about the pregnancy. When we found out she was pregnant with her first child, it was a big shock. It was too soon to have a child, not only because of her age, but also because we hadn't had much time living together, and this had a big effect on our relationship. We knew a pregnancy would happen at some point, but this was too soon. We were afraid of how the child would change our plans, our trips, and Caroline's studies. Sadly, 3 months into the pregnancy, Caroline began experiencing some issues that became a cause for concern and warranted a trip to the doctor. We found out that there was a problem with the pregnancy. We went to the gynecologist and found out the baby had no pulse and had died. I was devastated. We were both devastated. We were crying as we were falling asleep and hugging as we shed tears, recalled Babis. Babis claims this was the turning point of their relationship, and Caroline became a different person entirely. Her mental health had deteriorated. She was angry and argumentative all the time. He added, "In some moments, Caroline would burst out. I could tell she wasn't herself when she was attacking me, either verbally or physically. I didn't mind her taking it out on me. I understood her." Babis decided that perhaps therapy was the answer to saving their marriage. However, the majority of the therapy sessions were conducted separately, therefore issues were not truly being resolved. Eleni Milanopoulou, the psychologist providing the services, shared, "The moment Babis would leave the room, Caroline would tell me that she wanted to leave their marital home and start all over again. He didn't give her any freedom, and she had no choice in how she lived her life." On paper, Caroline was in love with the idea of Babis, but hated the person who he really was. Eventually, Caroline felt therapy was a waste of time and would begin to find excuses to not see the psychologist, eventually leading to the sessions stopping altogether. Babis believed this is what led their marriage to further deterioration. Despite Babis' interpretation of the events, a diary belonging to Caroline was collected by police in later trials, where it was evident the loss of her first child is not what set off Caroline's supposed aggressive behavior. She had written that Babis was suffocating her, and she felt trapped by his outrageous and controlling behavior. He also prevented her from pursuing her goals to continue her education and become a pastry chef. She battled with her own thoughts on whether to leave him or not, and how she would go about doing so, as Babis would likely not make the departure an easy one. Her diary, though, did not go into grave details about their fights and arguments. She did admit to hitting Babis in one entry. It read, "I fought with Babi again. This time it was serious. I hit him, I cursed at him, and he broke down the door. All I wanted was for him to ask how I am when I woke up. I woke up so weak and tired." In the midst of the mourning period of their unborn child and continued unhappy union, the couple found they were expecting again in autumn of the same year. This time, the pregnancy went well, and they welcomed baby girl Lydia in June 2020. Babis claimed that though they were both absolutely in love with their new blessing, Caroline continued to show aggression towards him. A diary entry in July 2020, when baby Lydia was just 1 month old, Caroline expressed her disdain for Babis and her yearning to leave him. However, she'd repeatedly returned to the notion of not wanting her daughter to grow up without both of her parents. In December 2020, Caroline decided to channel her energy elsewhere and reached out to Marathon Animal Association, where rescue animals were cared for until they are adopted. According to the animal shelter, Caroline reached out to them via Facebook and expressed an interest in adopting a puppy to grow up with her now 6-month-old daughter, Lydia. A few days later, volunteers met with Caroline, Lydia, and Babis at a veterinary clinic in Neamakri, just east of Athens. It was there they met 2-month-old puppy Roxy, who they immediately liked and chose to adopt. Caroline's family was one of those who we volunteers consider role models. "We were in no doubt that our little one would now live a life full of love and care," one volunteer expressed. Neighbors told reporters that Caroline wholeheartedly adored the rescue puppy. She would walk and play with Roxy daily while accompanied by baby Lydia, a truly lovely sight to witness. All seemed normal to outsiders for the family of 3+1, until one dreadful early morning on May 11th, 2021. Police officers arrived at the home in Glikanera after a frantic Babis phoned them to report an alleged home invasion. When authorities arrived at the home, they were greeted by a shockingly atrocious display. Poor 7-month-old Roxy's lifeless body was strung up and hung on the home's banister. Not knowing what other horrid scenes were awaiting them, the police continued to move about the home with caution. They then discovered Babis, restrained and gagged on the floor of the couple's bedroom. Caroline was motionless on the bed, also bound. Upon further examination, it appeared she had been tragically strangled to death, right in front of her husband and daughter. 11-month-old Lydia sat next to her 19-year-old mother's corpse, hitting her, in an attempt to get her to wake up, authorities reported. One rarely encounters such barbarity in Greece, in Greek society, even among criminals, stated Minister of Public Order Makalis Chrysokoidis. Babis was questioned about the events that transpired that evening that led to his wife's unfortunate and premature death. He began to explain that around 4:30 a.m., 3 foreign-masked gunmen entered the home through the basement as the family slept. Perhaps to stop a barking Roxy, they smothered the puppy and hung it by its leash on the stair rail. They then made their way upstairs to the couple's bedroom. They woke the couple and began taunting and demanding them to give up the whereabouts of any cash or valuables in the home. "Tell us where the money is or we will kill the baby," Babis broken-heartedly quoted them saying. Babis begged them to stop and just take whatever they wanted and directed them to about $18,000 worth of cash and jewelry. As they pointed the gun towards the baby, Caroline, who knew martial arts, started to attack the burglars. The burglar, who seemed to be the leader of the trio, immobilized Caroline, bound her, and began to suffocate her. Among the chaos and fear of Babis's retaliation, he too was bound and gagged. Amidst the struggle and witnessing his daughter be threatened and his wife attacked, Babis lost consciousness. 2 teams of detectives were set up to handle the investigation. They quickly put sketches together, pulled suspect photos, searched for DNA evidence and any security camera footage in the area that could lead them in the right direction. Although the home had a surveillance camera on the ground floor, police discovered the robbers dismantled it and removed the memory card, leaving no video evidence behind. They were also not able to find any traces of DNA or fingerprints at the window in the basement, where they allegedly entered the residence. Camera footage secured from neighbors, however, did give authorities a glimpse of hope. At 5:07 a.m., around the time perpetrators may have fled the scene, a dark-colored car was captured driving down the road, followed by a motorbike just 4 minutes later. A neighbor commented, "I could hear a motorbike the days before the incident, which was standing for a few seconds at the corner of Parados with Panaguli Street. He would circle around the block, return, and then leave. I did not see anything. I could just hear it, because it was late at night about 2 o'clock. They are monsters. How do they kill a mother like that?" Detectives believed the intruders were privy to the cash the couple had on hand before the invasion, and were casing the home before making their move. They suspected it could have been an Albanian-led gypsy gang that were linked to about a dozen string of robberies in the surrounding areas. Another group suspected were the Georgians, who were known for their organized crime in Greece. In the days following the burglary and murder, a 43-year-old Georgian man with a known criminal record was arrested, as he attempted to use a fake passport to cross into Bulgaria. Though further investigation showed there was nothing tying him to the case. In hopes of finding the maniacal group that incited young Caroline's murder, the Greek government and Crimes Against Life Department of the Hellenic Police offered a reward of €300,000 to anyone who could provide them with information that would lead to an arrest. Weeks passed with no breakthroughs, and Babis, now a grieving widow, was receiving a lot of media attention as the brutality of this crime put fear into the hearts of the Greek nation.
Να μην γίνει σε κανέναν άλλον ποτέ ξανά, τίποτα άλλο. Τα παιδιά ξέρουν τη δουλειά τους, θα τους πιάσουν και αυτό που πέρασα εγώ και η οικογένειά μου και η οικογένεια της γυναίκας μου να μην το περάσει ξανά κανείς ποτέ.
Τους παρακαλέσατε?
Τους παρακαλέσαμε, τους είπαμε ότι έχουμε πού θα βρουν τα χρήματα και...
Και παρόλα αυτά, πόση ώρα μείναν μέσα?
Συγγνώμη, πρέπει να φύγω. Να είστε καλά. Έχει όσα περισσότερα μπορούσαμε να μαζέψουμε και κάθε μέρα αυτή τη στιγμή είναι 10, 15, 20 άνθρωποι στο δρόμο και ψάχνουν. Αυτό ξέρω, είναι με συνέχεια σε επικοινωνία μαζί μου όσο έχω μπορέσει να τους βοηθήσω. Αν υπάρχει κάποιος που μπορεί να τους βρει, θα τους βρουν τα παιδιά αυτά.
Ήταν τόσο σκληροί, δηλαδή δεν καταλάβαιναν από τα παρακάλια σας, από αυτά που τους λέγατε.
Παιδιά, μας έδεσαν και από εκείνο το σημείο και μετά δεν τους είχαμε πει ήδη που είναι τα χρήματα. Δεν ξέρω.
Εσύ κατάφερες και πήρες τηλέφωνο?
Όταν συνειδητοποίησες ότι η γυναίκα σου δεν βρίσκεται στη ζωή?
Όταν με έλυσαν οι αστυνομοί. Όταν ήρθαν οι αστυνόμοι μέσα και με έλυσαν και έβγαλαν από το κεφάλι μου τα δεσμά.
Και η κορούλα?
Η κορούλα μου ευτυχώς δεν έχει χτυπήσει, πήγε στο νοσοκομείο προληπτικά και ευτυχώς είναι καλά.
At Caroline's funeral service, a teary-eyed Babis expressed during a heartfelt eulogy, "I was very lucky that I knew Caroline and that she loved me. I was very lucky for all the moments we shared. One thing that makes me even more sadder than her death is the fact that our daughter will grow up without remembering her beautiful mother, who was the joy of my life. But through her daughter, Caroline will always be with me and with all of us. You should always look after your loved ones and enjoy your time together. On June 17, 2021, about a month after her death, a memorial service was held for Caroline Louise Crouch in Alonissos. While people near and dear to the late mother of one gathered to remember and mourn her, police arrived via helicopter to inform Babis there had been a break in the case. They urged him to return to Athens so they could present him with the information that had since emerged. Upon his return to Athens, he met with detectives who presented their analysis of all digital evidence they retrieved from both him and Caroline. Their findings showed significant discrepancies between the times on their cell phones, biometric watch, camera, and the times reported by Babis previously. Babis alleged the intruders entered the home at about 4:30 a.m. However, the camera's memory card was found to have been removed at 1:20 a.m. Caroline's watch recorded her heart stopping at 4:11 a.m., and his cell phone showed it was in use during the time he would have been gagged and tied. It was clear his version of the events that occurred that night was riddled with inconsistencies. Babis, who had maintained for weeks that his wife was murdered by a trio of foreigners, finally had no choice but to confess he was the one responsible for the elaborate burglary staging and the relentless death of Caroline. For over a month, he played to the hearts of the people and shed crocodile tears, all the while being guilty of this heinous crime. He confessed that he killed her due to a fight they were having that evening, about her wanting to leave him. He then attempted to divert the investigation by staging the crime scene so Lydia would not have to grow up without both of her parents. He told detectives, "That night we had begun arguing from early on. She pushed me and punched me. My judgment became blurred. I strangled her and then I staged the robbery." He would later go into greater details. "I got on top of her so she couldn't hit me as easily. I told her to calm down. She was saying, 'Get up, leave me, go away,' and other swear words which I'd rather not say. Then I took my pillow and I placed it over her head. I had no purpose. There was no logic in my blurred mind at that moment, and when I saw her in profile and understood she was dead from her eyes, which were open, and her pulse, I lost it. It all lasted about 5 minutes. I tried to wake her, rocked her, but it was in vain. I began to weep and pull my hair and go back and forth across the room. From the day I lost Caroline, I lost everything. I lost my life." The state coroner stated that Caroline's official cause of death was suffocation, and she likely suffered a long and agonizing death. On May 16, 2022, about 1 month after his trial began, Charalambos Babis Anagnostopoulos was unanimously found guilty of murder, killing a companion animal, giving false reports and false testimony. He was sentenced to life in prison for Caroline's murder, with parole possible after 27 years, a 10-year sentence and €20,000 fine for the execution of Roxy, and a total of 11.5 years for misleading police in the investigation. Babis was infuriated at the outcome of his trial, believing his sentence should be lighter as it was done while his mind was not clear. "I really regret this act. I ruined my life and my family. I wish I could go back in time, but unfortunately I cannot. If I could turn back time, I'd choose Caroline again." Expert witness Alkistis Igoumenaki concluded his sentencing was just. Babis has an absence of sentiment and empathy, but his mind is perfectly capable of understanding the wrongdoing he has done. He suffers from a number of antisocial behavior traits and is also a narcissist. But that is not an excuse for saying that he was not in control when he carried out his crimes. He killed his wife and the mother of his child, without thinking how much the child would suffer from this loss, so the lack of empathy concerns the child as well. We see a man who does not think about the baby. All this contributes to a psychopathic personality. When one commits a murder, it is normal for the perpetrator to try and evade police to avoid persecution for their actions. However, relishing in the eye of the storm is something else entirely. Babis is the true definition of a narcissist. Not only did he impede a murder investigation that he was responsible for, he played in the faces of reporters, the community, and worst of all, in the faces of Caroline's parents. How do you hug, console, and mourn with the mother of a woman you killed? How do you leave your 11-month-old child in the bed with her mother's lifeless body while you tie yourself up and pretend to have fainted? Thankfully, Caroline's parents have been awarded custody of Lydia, and they are raising the now 3-year-old in the Philippines, far away from where her mother's murder took place, and far away from the likes of Babis Anagnostopoulos. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and share your thoughts, and make sure to check out our next case, shown on screen.